My name is Anthony Oakes.
And I am a very sleepy Patrice DeVille. This is the Black Think Tank with Anthony and Patrice.
It ain't black enough.
Create a space where we could, discuss Black content creators and providers and consumers of Black content. Produce our own film, on our own star on a film, it's about Black content. That's what we want.
Welcome to the Black Think Tank. She's sleepy, she needs to wake up. I thought you were supposed to stay woke, girl.
Listen, especially during Black History Month, and I just feel so bad, and I want to give my mama an apology right now, just in case she's watching, for all the naps that I fought against growing up. I never knew how important they were. You knew what was best for me the entire time. Jay Business, and I'm sorry. Happy Black History Month, Anthony.
Happy Black History Month. Sorry, I was oh God, I feel like we're already wasting time. We're 2 days in. We only get 28 days.
Right. I mean, well, the good news is we at the Black Think Tank, we're celebrating that 365. But yes, for the official Black History Month, celebrations, we're already 2 days in. And a lot has happened in the last 2 days. We got snow. We got white snow
on Black History Month.
On the first day of Black History Month. You see how they just won't let us live.
Yeah, but I'm kind of glad it wasn't black snow, though. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I'm down. I'm all for the cause, but I don't think black snow would really be what I would want.
Black ice.
That either. Yo, how are you feeling, though? You good? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm feeling great. I'm looking great.
Yo, let's go ahead and get our wonderful squad up to bat. Ladies and gentlemen,
the squad.
Hey, that's good, Turnipseed.
You gotta work the unmute button.
I like that sweater.
I was about to say, is he in a smoker's jacket? I'm trying to figure out what exactly Haywood got going on right now.
Thank you. Sitting next to this one here, I have to step up my wardrobe.
I mean, clearly, because
every Tuesday, I'm like, you putting on face for the internet.
The Nubian Queen is not playing with y'all.
Never. She
is not playing at y'all at all.
Yeah.
Yo, how y'all
You've never been in that Pat McGrath. She got.
Hey, Pat.
If you notice, she's in the center, but I'm always to the right of her.
It's all right. Just as long as you're there.
Just as long.
So why are you so sleepy, Patrice? Did you say that and we missed it?
I've been binge watching TV today. I've been trying to binge watch all of these Westworld episodes before my subscription. My free trial is.
Happy Black History Month.
I don't even want to say that because obviously that is, but hell, Fandy News in it. I mean, there's some black folks in it.
Ain't that something we can put the streaming service on trial, but we can't put the cops on trial?
Listen, I feel you because I just got Kindle Unlimited and it gives you like 3 months to read books. So I know if I forget, I'm not going to read. So I've been reading and reading. I have like 5 Dr. Sebi books under my belt. I took a long nap today. It was great. You should have listened to her because naps are delish.
Oh my God.
Dr. Sebi. Come on, Dr. Sebi. Well, we have a packed show today. We have an amazing guest, the doctor, born Eldridge Stewart is I like the doctor. You know, everybody don't like to be called doctor, even though they got the credentials. Listen, but I love, you need to say it because you worked for it.
You went to school for 10 years after you graduated.
It's here.
Yes, put all the letters before and after. But before we get to our guest, I just want to take a moment to remind everyone that the Black Think Tank is a donation-based show, meaning that we rely on your support to be able to continue to bring you all of this blackness. So if you have a couple of extra coins that you would love to donate, please hashtag the Black Think Tank. And we want to thank our previous sponsors from last week, Rashawn Tate. I'm not sure if he's on here right now, but I'm sure he'll be joining us soon. We appreciate your donation. And as always, one of our top tier diamond supporters, Marcus T. Island. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yo, and we also, for our 3 Black minutes, we have Theresa, Concepcion, and we have Fernando, Madrigal. I feel like I have to roll my tongue around when I pronounce their names, and I just kind of get off on it. I feel like I'm on Queen of the South.
Roll that
R. So yeah, I mean, so we celebrate Black History all year. 365 days a year, 66 in a leap year. Wait, is that right? Yeah. Uh-huh. So, yeah, but I mean, we have our own personal historian in a segment that we like to call Uncle Historian.
Black history, Black history. You have to know where you're from to know where you're going. Uncle Historian, Haywood.
All right, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy Black History Month. This is February 2nd, 2021, the second day of Black History Month. And we want to shout out Carter G. Woodson for beginning Black History Week so that we can actually celebrate it for a whole month. Today, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to celebrate the transition of an icon, a legend, a trailblazer, and now an ancestor, Miss Cicely Tyson. Shouts out to Miss Cicely Tyson, born on December 19th in 1924 in Harlem, USA. Not only was she an actress, she was an advocate. She was great. She was grand, literally a grand dame. She was in movies like Sounder, Miss Jane Pittman, Bustin' Loose with Richard Pryor, Roots. She played Madam Queen in Harlem. She was also in The Help. And just as recently just was a Kennedy Center honoree, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient in 2015 and 2016. And in 2020, she was now inducted into the National Television Hall of Fame. From 1981 to 1988, she was married to the maestro himself, Mr. Cool, Miles Davis, which is, this is essential to understanding how cool Cicely Tyson is and will always be. She was married to Miles Davis and on the cover of his Sorcerer album, and she's one of the people that he says is just like helped him become who he was in his life as a musician and as a man. That's amazing to me. I saw a tweet that said when at the end of your life, everyone is celebrating your life. And in addition to that, you were an icon, a legend, and a trailblazer. You won. One of her last 2 tweets was shouting out Amanda Gorman, the young lady, poet laureate, who actually spoke at the recent inauguration of Joe Biden, saying that her words remind us that we can rise, rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And she was thanking Amanda for her words in life. So we want to thank Miss Cicely Tyson for her love and for her life. And we thank her for being here and allowing us this time that she did, 96 years. on planet Earth.
That's a long time.
It's a long time to be on the third rock from the sun and literally watch the world change around you for the better, even though we have to go through the worst. So we want to thank Madam Tyson by putting our hands in the air and shouting her out and showing her a little love and light and saying, like we always do for the ancestors,
Yes.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe.
If you want to watch her interview, one of her last interviews was with Gayle King, and it was there last week. And you be sure to check that out on YouTube. I'll be sure to put that in the chat. But this is someone whom, if we only know through movies, please check out her book, her recent memoirs, Just As I Am, published by HarperCollins. It's a good read about a good person. We thank them for being here. Because of them, we are.
Most certainly. That was amazing. I love Miss Jane Pittman. I remember just watching that film. Like it was transformative. Definitely.
The women of Brewster's Place. Like just tell you, just seeing somebody with my skin tone be so regal and just like she just did something for me that I don't even know how to really articulate in this moment. Because like I said, I know we have such a stacked show, but Cicely Tyson is one of those things where, you know, you're sad that she's gone, but you just look at her and be like, well done. Well done.
Yeah.
You know, you can't even be mad because, I mean, there's a lot of people that get 96 years on this earth and don't do nothing with it. No shame.
Right.
But, you know, for what she has lived a rich and full life and a legacy that will live on eons past her. So, yeah.
She's here forever. She's here forever. And we thank her for being here. Her presence will always be with us. I remember her busting loose with Richard Pryor. I mean, she was in that comedies. She did it. She was on SNL. She did things.
How to Get Away with Murder, Sean.
Right.
I mean, she's literally just working last week. She was no stranger to working. So she didn't even care. That was crazy. She had the best career ever. You can only want your career to span that long. Right. But we also here at Black Think Tank love to support Black businesses. Support your local Black businesses far and wide. And we love to do that with a segment, Black Business Shout Out.
Black Business Shout Out. Black Business Shout Out. Hey. Welcome to the Black Business Shout Out with Tracie Turnipseed. Support your Black businesses.
So this next business is near and dear to my heart. And to go along with the theme of this show, I'm doing today's Black Business Shout Out on my girl Iris Morel out of McLean, Virginia at Elm & Serenity. She started her massage business a couple of years after I started my massage business. And ever since then, she's hit the ground running. Iris is actually Panamanian. Her parents, I believe, are from Panama, so she would be second generation. And she's just doing her thing. I'm so proud of her. She's taking care of her family. She just actually put together a whole new studio. So let me tell you a little bit about it. She has about 20 years of knowledge under her belt and experience when she opened her practice. She recently hired Irwin and Hannah. I think we have Irwin's picture up there, who are both fantastic. Irwin is known for his intuitive focused work, and Hannah is known for her relaxing flow. Make sure to support your small businesses and check them out. $20 off your first session with Hannah and Irwin, so be sure to book online or give them a call. They offer just about everything from prenatal CBD enhanced massage, and she's also putting in local CBD sellers right now, so you might see a few of my products down in her shop as well. Also, she wanted me to remind you that Valentine's is around the corner, so why not pamper your loved one or yourself? Go visit her down in McLean, Virginia. Her website is elmandserenity.com. And like I said, she is amazing. She's my massage therapist. Everyone always asks massage therapist, well, who do you go to? I go to her. She's amazing. She's been my massage therapist since I met her, probably about 10 years ago.
Wow.
15 even. Yeah, she's just amazing. Go out and see her. She just, like I said, rebuilt her studio. She was so much of a supportive hand for me during the COVID, when we both thought we would never work again and we thought our businesses would be a thing of the past. But she's killing it down there. She's not taking any new clients herself. Her books are packed, but Erin,
packed books.
Her books.
Booked and busy.
Booked and busy. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, shout out. And also shout out to Orange Wellness. So
yes, Orange Wellness as well. Yeah,
check them out on all social media platforms. So look, y'all, we are ready. We are ready to bring on our expert for the Black Diaspora. She was referred by Dr. Lola Jones, who was our guest for our Black Music show, which was an amazing show. And we love Dr. Jones. She's amazing. Go check out her book. It's somewhere over there. Kim, you'll find that book for me? The Theapolics. It's a Flamin'. It's called Flamin'. But yeah, she was referred by Dr. Jones, and everybody, we get this sense of people, and I can already tell that she is Black Think Tank family. I want y'all to give a warm welcome to Dr. Lauren Eldridge Stewart.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so good to be with y'all.
Good day. You look amazing.
Yes, she came with the locks. Everybody thinks that you have to have locks to come on the Black Think Tank. That's true. It's just how it works out sometimes. And they are beautiful, Dr. Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Stewart, where are you from?
I'm originally from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
In here.
So tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure thing. So you heard about me from Dr. ALJ, the fabulous. And we went to grad school together. We were in the same grad program. She was a couple of cohorts ahead of me. So grew up south suburbs of Chicago, and then I went to college at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. After that, I was majoring in international studies and music, piano performance. And all I knew is I wanted to know more about the world, but I also wanted to still study music. I still wanted to stay in the world of sound. And ethnomusicology ended up being the perfect thing for that. So I went to grad school at University of Chicago thinking that I was going to study jazz. I was going to write a dissertation about jazz. And I got there in 2010, right after the Haitian earthquake. And that distracted me. It really put me on a different track. And so I ended up doing field research in Haiti over several years. And I'm working on a book now so that I can have a book to promo the next time I come on here.
Already done.
Come on, Black authors. That's what we talking. That's another show. That's next week. But when we think about the Black diaspora, I mean, we, in our Black Think Tank meetings, a lot of people, I mean, we were joking about some people didn't even know how to pronounce it. They weren't even.
Okay, well, listen, don't do it like that. We can say Patrice did. I was calling it the diaspora. It's fine. Don't even try. Some people didn't know. Anthony, you're trying it already. This is what happens when we get experts on the
show. See, I was not gonna call no names. But hey, so the Black diaspora, what entails, like, when we think about Black people, and is it the African diaspora or the Black diaspora, or is it one and the same?
Well, it really depends on who you're talking to, what you're talking about, and how you want to relate to them. I tend to use African diaspora. That's the title of one of my courses here at WashU, Music of the African Diaspora. But a lot of people identify with the term Black, and that's not just here in the United States. There are a lot of people in the UK, for example, that prefer to use Black, and they use it in a really expansive sense.
Because I feel like we over here in the States localize Blackness. And we don't think of it, and I can't speak for everybody. I know myself, it wasn't until I got older that I even thought of Blackness on a global scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then it leads to one of the reasons why we even decided to have this show is, we have our first female Black vice president, and then there was just so much discussion about what she was. Oh, is she Black enough? She's Pacific Islander. She's Indian American. There were so many. She had more titles, child, than Billboard 100. So, where does that fall in line? Is it okay that we just say Black? Do we need to differentiate? I'm at a loss here.
I like to think about Blackness is really expansive. Like the concept of Blackness is really expansive and really capacious. It is something with a much longer history than most of us tend to learn in school. And it's something with a much broader, deeper history, right? So one thing is, some folks might want to delimit Blackness as being exclusive to those with a sort of history or legacy in the transatlantic slave trade. Even that is really big, right? Because you're talking about less than, say, 10% or so of folks that actually got all the way to the US, right? That ship, and the ship as a metaphor had a lot of stops before it got here, right? And so actually most of those folks went to Brazil. The sort of second major locale is most of those, the other folks went to and stopped in the Caribbean, so across the Caribbean. And, speaking of Cicely Tyson, shout out to St. Kitts and Nevis, right? So her parents come from there. So if you want to exclude all of these different places in your conception of the Black diaspora and your conception of Blackness, you might be shutting out a whole lot of family. I like to think of it like I just have family everywhere. I do.
Yeah.
Because I do know that for as much as we are taught, I won't even just say are taught otherwise, there are a lot of us who are indigenous to the North American region. Everyone did not come over on slave ships. Like that is, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, especially when we are so disconnected from our history, we don't, a lot of us just don't know. And I think that's part of one of the reasons where, and I may be speaking out of turn, I can just only speak for me, where there is sometimes a disconnect between our Haitian brothers and sisters, our Afro-Latina and Latino brothers and sisters, people who still have some sort of connection to other parts of their culture. Like some of us out here and, who are completely Americanized, we just have no reference point. We have no other language and culture to, I don't make soup jumu on, January 1st. Right? You know what I mean? It looks good. I love to have it. And somebody Haitian invite me over.
Really good. It's really good.
They have, they still have the language, some people still have a language to attach themselves to. They still have certain cultural things to attach themselves to. And I guess, is there a difference between the diaspora and ADOS? Is there?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? It's hard to figure out where you're going to cut off and how you're going to pick and choose. But I think that it's helpful to kind of trek back a little bit in history. And this is something that I started to do really my first semester at Spelman College. But then after I defended and got my Ph.D., I went back to Spelman College to teach. And I taught a course called The African Diaspora in the World. It's a course that was designed by the sort of top historian of this field, Dr. Michael Gomez. And this holds that if you start the history earlier, if you just pull back, your context expands. So we start with a reading. We read the Epic of Sunjata, right? The first emperor of Mali. And this is we're talking about 11th, 12th century, right? So way, way, way far back. And we're thinking about an African diaspora even then, because he doesn't get this empire by just staying in one place. He gets this empire by traveling across the continent and sending people across the continent and really consolidating power in that way. So one way of going about this is starting the history earlier and getting more context. Sure, some of these people in sort of a present sense do have different languages, say, different recent histories. But if you kind of slide that timeline back, we learn more about our shared common history.
I'm sorry, I had to look up capacious from earlier.
I wrote it down to look it up.
You used that word. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, capacious. Now, okay, if we're talking about the history of Black people, and you're saying way back when, and we're thinking about diaspora on a global level. Now, okay, no, I'm just playing devil's advocate. This is just something that I've just thought of. So please don't judge me for this question. So if everybody came from Africa, aren't we all Black Africans, or no? Or, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, am I asking the question correctly? I don't know if.
There's some Neanderthals out here.
So I think what you're doing is raising a really good point, right? And I can't speak towards sort of the general, but what I can do is highlight a couple of specific cases and that we haven't looked at these histories enough. One case is the case of the cities. So the city population of South India, right? So we're hopping over from the African continent. Instead of going west, we're going to go east, and we're going to look at South Asia, that peninsula, but specifically the country India and the southern part of that. Now, these are Black folks that left Africa in the past few centuries, right? So they've been there somewhere between 15th and 19th century. And they are Black. They consider themselves Black. They're also Indian, and they consider themselves Indian. And that's important for them also in terms of their civil rights constitutionally. But yeah, they've been there. They're Black and they're Indian and they're all of that. So yeah, it's history, and the globe is full of stories like this, right? Where we didn't just move on, although that was a big move, right? I mean, we're everywhere. You can find us anywhere.
Right.
That's true. Listen, I was blessed enough to be able to go to Cuba under the Obama administration. And it was like a second home. I felt like I had been there before. And the reality is, not only was it a heartbeat that I connected with the people, I looked around and I saw people darker than me that were Cubans, and I guess it's the same thing like with Dominican, you can go to places who people are Dominican and they are, highly melanated. So I guess I want to know, what is it that, because we have this connection, it's undeniable. Why are we so disconnected?
Power and the history making bit, right? Because who tells the history? And I think this is why, and I sort of push this on my students all the time. Why are we reading all of this history? Why is it so important to know and to really get specific on, especially in a music class? Because usually folks say, well, no, I just want to listen to the music. I want to just vibe out. And I don't want any history with it. But we got to have some history with it. Right. And this is important because if you don't tell the history, you will not be portrayed favorably in that history. This is a point made by a great Haitian anthropologist who passed on maybe about a decade ago. His name was Michel Rolfe-Trio. And he wrote this book called Silencing the Past, Power in the Production of History. And that's that main point, right? Whoever has the power is the one that produces the history. So you got to know, you got to keep on informing yourself, and you have to keep on having these conversations. This is why something like this is so important.
That leads to that proverb that says the story of the hunt will always glorify the hunter until the African can tell his tale.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, when I went to Belize, I've been to only two places, Belize and Costa Rica. I want to say Mexico one time before. In Costa Rica, I went there and everybody they're different. They're different, way different than who I thought as well. You had Costa Ricans who were light all the way down to dark. And then, but what was more interesting was when I actually went to Belize and I learned about the people there. They were the first people who I ever went to a country, and they not only acknowledge, they embrace their African heritage, especially from the Garifuna tribe, who was the original African tribe in Belize. And I was so excited about this revelation and all the pyramids and the information that we learned when we got down there. And I was like, I want to increase my knowledge. This could be one of the countries that I'd actually like to move to when I go to retire. I went and looked on Google, and all you see is the Spaniards were the first ones there. The only African tribe that was brought, the first African tribe that was brought there as slaves by the Spaniards. I mean, I believe even right now, Guatemala, I believe is right. They're having border disputes with some of the other Hispanic countries around them. And it's just amazing to me that they kept asking me, you know, why is America so divided? You are all Americans. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's not the same, but it was refreshing to see everyone. Oh, my parents used to live on Monkey River. I know I'm mostly Latina or Hispanic or whatever they were calling themselves. But what's more important to me is that I also have African in my heritage. And no one at all seemed disappointed about it. And I've seen, and I'm not going to call out any other Latina race or Hispanic race, but I've been around people who I could be as black as me, as dark as me, even darker, who refuse to consider themselves black at all.
Absolutely. And I was about to say, Anthony, I think we're on the same page. I was going to say, we cannot continue this conversation about the diaspora. I'm going to still call it diaspora because I just like how without bringing on some of the people who are a part of our community.
All right, so here we go, the 3 Black Minutes.
Welcome to 3 Black Minutes, where comedians from all over have 3 Black Minutes to talk about tonight's topics. Comedians have 3 Black Minutes to be funny, or we have 3 Black Minutes to roast them. Theresa, Concepcion, Fernando, Madrigal, 3 Black Minutes. Black time matters.
Theresa, 3 Black Minutes.
Unmute your phone.
See, I got you. I just wanted to be consistent with how 3 Black Minutes has been going. Because, you know, I am a day one fan of the show. Okay, my name is Theresa, but I have to appreciate the telenovela pronunciation that Anthony Oaks is always like throwing on. He's like, Teresa, Concepcion. And I'm like, I just need a guy with a cigar to come through the door and like, you know, throw his shit in the corner and take me to his arms. Anyway, but that's what I come to mind when I hear my name like that. So that's funny. But I love Anthony Oaks. And so one of the best things about this show is that you get to see all the aspects of his personality. Like when he brings the gospel with like Black business shooter and wakes up my dog. Or when he has the like spoken word, he's like Black history, Black herstory, Uncle Historian, yay. So that's it. But my favorite segment is the 3 Black Minutes because this is the most accurately named fucking segment. I've ever heard in my life. You got the Teddy Riley black people who like, we had the chick who had the black screen and like the stuff on the internet. You got the Lauryn Hill black people who don't even show up.
Wow.
So I was like, this shit is the most appropriately named segment. And so I was like, for Black History Month, I feel like the U.S. Postal Service should change its name to like 3 Black Days, right? It could be 3 Black Business Days. It could be 3 weeks. You just never know when you're gonna get. You never know when you're gonna get your shit. Yes, and I am excited to talk about diaspora. My shirt is Boricuas with George in honor of George Floyd. But yeah, I have also been privy to like, you know, the super white Cubans who are like, you know, Trump supporters, to the like charcoal like Dominicans, Fernando, who
Holy shit.
who, you know, they embrace their, I think, not all Dominicans do, but you know, that's a whole other thing. But that's another thing you guys accomplished. You got a Puerto Rican and a Dominican to get along long enough to share our experiences with y'all. So yes, big ups. I don't know, does that mean my time's up? Because you made me small now. Trying to figure it all out.
That was hilarious. Yo, that was
hilarious.
We've never had this conversation before. I have to ask you, and yes, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What do you identify as? Like, do you feel like you are Black?
So I
do.
do,
You say nigga.
but so my thing is I do now. Okay, and I know that I could say the reason I say that, and I sent you guys pictures. I don't know if now's the time to do it, but when you look at my parents, right? My mom looks white. If she had been like, if her family was from like France or England or something, like she would just be considered a white woman. But you know, she's from Puerto Rico and her family's from Spain, so that's where she's Hispanic, because that's a word that means like we're from Spain. But Latino is, you know, people of color who are like Black or who have, you know, Taino, Indian and stuff. So I was raised with my mother's side of the family. And so for them, it was, you're just Puerto Rican. And Puerto Rican meant lightness. And my family actually disowned my father for marrying him in the first instance. So I was kind of like, that's my father.
See, and that looked like a Black man to me. That's a Black man to me.
So if he was from Jamaica or Haiti or even like South Carolina, he would just be Black. You know what I'm saying? So it's confusing because I would say, why aren't I Black? And my family would be like, no, you're Puerto Rican. You know? And so it wasn't until later in life that I was looking at this and I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. And I started learning about Latino history and I started learning about African history. And I'm like, the only thing that differentiates us is who's the conqueror, right? Because we're Latino because the conqueror was Spain. But if we had been conquered by France, we'd be Haitian, you know, or we'd be from somewhere else. So there's so much more that like unites us that it's just like, you come to realize it's just a matter of like which conqueror was the dominant force, but really there's this Blackness everywhere.
Are these your grandparents?
I mean? Those are my grandparents. Yeah.
And see, that's the part that has always, you know, like I've, especially with this being Black History Month, I've always wondered, where do people who are people of color or part of the, you know, diaspora celebrate? Do y'all even have any connection to Black History Month, so to speak? Do y'all feel like it's something to, you know what I mean? Do you feel
I think it's something.
Do you feel like
I do feel left out, but it's something that you have to seek out. But I'm saying, like, you do. I mean, I wasn't sure I had enough melanin to be on this show. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, no.
We're slowly working towards integration.
I'm like, every other person on this show got dreads. I'm just like, okay, my ass is fat, but I'm sitting, so no one really knows. Anyway,
Yo.
But yeah, I mean, yes, we could talk later. I know you want to bring up Fernando Madrigal.
Fernando Madrigal.
Welcome to 3 Black Minutes, where comedians from all over have 3 Black Minutes to talk about tonight's topics. Comedians have 3 Black Minutes to be funny, or we have 3 Black Minutes to roast them. Theresa, Concepcion, Fernando, Madrigal, 3 Black Minutes. Black time matters.
Well, okay. I guess. I don't mean to be capacious, but you know, everybody on the show so far was Anthony trying to be diplomatic about somebody not knowing diaspora, and Patrice be like, "Nah, that was me. I know that shit. I was pronouncing it wrong anyway." Man, it's been a fun show. It definitely looks like the diner after a Jill Scott concert. This is amazing. I love all the doctors' colorfully wrapped books back there. She always got that extra point in elementary school, and they were like, "You gonna wrap your books?" She's like, "Yeah, I got some. Don't worry about it." As Theresa mentioned, she is Puerto Rican. I am Dominican. People get confused about both. I'll let you know right now. Puerto Ricans are just Dominicans with blue passports. That's all. Puerto Ricans get all that comes with being an American. You know, life, liberty, electricity. On the island. I remember you guys talking about Kamala a little bit. I remember during like the primaries and stuff, she was running. Everybody was like, her and Cory Booker was like, Cory Booker, not black enough. Kamala Harris, not black enough. Bernie Sanders, too black, you know?
Come on, Bernie.
Being Dominican, there are like gaps in your black knowledge. Like they're like any music, any black music before 1990, I don't know much about. Like if it's not Michael Jackson, I don't know. Like for example, I never knew how many people were in Frankie, Beverly, and Maze. I was always thought it was like 3 people. It was Frankie, Beverly, and Maze. Maze is a band. Also, it's 2 dudes, Frankie, Beverly, and a band. No. Frankie,
look at the ancestors writing it down right now.
Oh,
The ancestors ain't like that one.
Look, and then Frankie Beverly sounds like 2 people. That's all I'm saying. I don't know.
Beverly and
Whoa.
Never knew how many people were in that group. Sounds great. I love their songs now. Yeah, I'm gonna pretend like that's my time. I don't know if I didn't have
We was cracking out, man. We was loving it. It's so good.
That was hilarious. How do you, Fernando? Where do you feel like you fall into the Black diaspora?
I consider myself. There was like a moment when I was a kid where I had to think about it, and I pretty much said I'm black. Like I'm pretty much very Americanized. It's like I look like this, and I grew up in a suburb of DC. It's like I'm black. Like that's just how I always felt about it. Yeah, Dominicans are a little funky with it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna make no name. Dominican.
I'm Dominican.
I appreciate the acknowledgement. That's all I can appreciate. The acknowledgement on the country.
Okay,
just keep it funky. You should have just said it. You were like, I'm not gonna name no names. You know, there's a certain group of people. But yeah. Now, there's a lot of that self-hate, but I've just always considered myself Dominican, and I think it's changing. I think it's I think over my lifespan, more and more Dominicans are just like, no, yeah, we are black. I know, like in the '60s, there was this like pretty brutal dictator, and one of the things that he did, amongst other things, killing people and all that fun stuff, there was a lot of like repression of like the African parts of being Dominican. So I know in like the last 60, 70 years. There was like a concentrated effort by him to do that. And then I think that trickled down. But I think in the last 20 years, I would say, there's been more of an acknowledgement of our African past. So there's still some hard.
That's also where like colorism comes in, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially with my family, like multiple generations of both sides are from Puerto Rico. But it's kind of like that, like, oh, you would be in the field or I'd be in the house, or, I would be married to like the conqueror. Like, and I'm like, that's not a good thing to associate yourself with. So it's just one of those things where like you're not taught to respect the black side or you're not taught to even really understand it. You know, by encapsulating everything as Puerto Rican, Dominican, Latino, and just saying, this is the food, this is the music, this is the language. Like, you're kind of just putting yourself in like this little bubble, as opposed to like, you have to, and that's what I was saying earlier, like you have to basically go out and seek it and say, okay, I want to learn more. And then realize, oh, slave ships came to my island. And then, oh, like this is, you know, this history of like, Puerto Ricans got citizenships only because they needed bodies to fight in World War I. And if you were a Black Puerto Rican, you were put in the Black regiment. And if you were Latino, you were put in like your own Latino regiment. And so even then on the island, if you're from the island, they were separating you out as Black and then Latino. And so like the separation is like the same way it happens in the mainland US is how it permeates, I think, in like Latin American cultures.
So what I'm hearing is white supremacy has always been, it continues to be the damn problem. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I ain't the type of person that's going to use 200 words when I only need to use 2.
I'm a lawyer, so I just want to call that up.
Fernando, how have you felt about Black History Month? Have you ever felt underrepresented? Did you ever feel like, oh, this is a great time to, you know, learn more about, you know, what does Black History Month even mean to you, if anything? And there's no wrong answer, I promise.
It's Black History Month? No, being Dominican, you do feel underrepresented by it, and it does. I guess because I live here, I don't really travel that much. It does feel like an American, like a Black American thing. But I've always identified with Black. I've always been like, these people look like me. So
the police gonna identify you as Black. I mean, you can identify as whatever you want, but with 12, over.
Yeah, if I get pulled over, they're not gonna call me a spink. I know that much. Okay, I know what they're going with. But no, I do feel connected to it, and I've always participated, and I've always felt like it is my holiday too. I always take MLK Day off. I don't let them. Somebody has to work. I'm like, nah.
But that's like, I mean, so there's so many similarities. Like with Theresa, like for instance, when you came to the campfire cookout, your aunt is younger than you, and that takes place in the Black community too.
Yeah.
There's so many similarities.
That's in my set. I'm like, Grandpa was 60, and he was like, but in reality, it was 2 more. So I have 2 aunts who were younger than me. I just cut it down for brevity, so you don't have to hear like all the family.
Well, Dr. Stewart, is there anything like that is there a unification movement? Like, I mean, will we ever be united? Is that asking too much? Is it too general, or is it impossible?
I mean, you're asking a lot here, but that's not to say it hasn't been in the works for a long time, right? So if you think about like different Pan-Africanist movements, one of the most popular ones or most well-known ones is Marcus Garvey and the UNIA going early 20th century, right? So there's some Pan-Africanism there, and people really have been working on it ever since. It's just hard. It's a moving target. It's a really big thing. It's a really big ask.
They burned all the boats. They be like, go back to Africa and then burn all the boats before you can get on them. Listen, I'm on the first Carnival cruise smoking. I want y'all to know, listen, if the same people that brought me here would sponsor my trip back, I am going right back to the problem.
You know what it reminds me of? Like, I'm sorry. Let me just, you might appreciate this, because if you go to the Blacksonian, and in their like cafeteria, they have all the different kinds of Black cuisine, right? So it's like Black culture, they recognize the differences, right? So it's kind of like Hispanics and Latinos fit into both, because you could say that since we have like, you know, Black ancestry, mofongo is a dish that was derived like originally from Africa. They could have that in the Blacksonian, but then also you're going to have like Latino dishes and like Hispanic music. But if it was reggae, then it would also be like included. So it's just, I think it's a kind of a mental shift of saying, just because you speak Spanish doesn't mean you're not Black. If I spoke French from Haiti, then I would be Black. It's just a language that came from the conquerors. It has nothing to do with the second half, you know?
Yeah.
I think the language bit of it is very important because I know like my mom didn't have a lot of Black friends because she didn't know that much English. So all her friends are like Venezuelan and El Salvadorian because that's what's in the area. That language barrier is also like a monster to get by too.
One of the things that you guys were talking about it earlier is that, and the doctor was talking about it, that separation in order to create power. I know Black people from Latin America, from Panama, from the Caribbean, from the UK. We all have the same story. And the biggest trick that the devil pulled on the world is that to have the world think that he didn't exist. We all have existed in this bubble because that's how they have gotten power and have maintained power to think that have us keep thinking that we are separate and that our stories are separate. That is the Willie Lynch syndrome, to actually separate the units and then teach them that their team is best. So my plantation is this, or my this is that, when it really is the globe. We forget about the Olmecians, we forget about Ivan Sertima and how they came before Columbus. Or we're not taught that, because as I hear Fernando talk about having to seek certain things out, and hear Theresa talk about having to seek certain things out, the same thing holds true for us here in the U.S. It's not taught to us that Africa is a continent that existed. It's even said that they brought slaves over here when that's not true. Humans were brought over to here and slavery was placed upon us.
So
when we look at it from that angle, that is the diaspora, that we are a unit, a family unit that has been separated, and we're finding one another. And as I go to Dominican Republic, and as I go to Haiti, and as I go to Aruba and different places, and I go, oh, wait a minute, I see myself, and that's stuff that we don't see when we look through the lens of television. That's something that we don't even see when we're not taking doctorates and allowed to join cohorts and go to schools. This is not taught in public schools. But if we look at PBS, right, and we talk about public broadcasting, then you can see something that Henry Louis Gates has put out, being Blacks in Latin America, or something like Black in England. And then it shows how slavery, how we were all taken from this place, brought to these other places, and then said, this is where we're going to be now. But then when you look at the Aboriginals in Australia, they were already there before the prisoners showed up. So that is the same case on every part of this earth. So if we can think about it, not look at it, but if we can think about it with that dome in mind or that lens in mind, then we won't be surprised by saying, oh, that person is just like me, because we've all gone through it and we're all going through it, which is a reclaiming of self, of consciousness.
That's what I really want to drive home, if nothing else, to our brothers and sisters, is that the only difference is the shipping and receiving. Honey, I could.
You said the serial number's the only difference.
Oh my gosh.
The manifest, honey. You got dropped off here. We got dropped off there. Listen.
That's all it is.
And that's the thing that when we talk about Black History, Black History Month started off as a week. So when we look at Carter G. Woodson, it was done from the Africans in America's perspective, the enslaved person in America's perspective. But as it grows, when we look at it across the globe, King Day is celebrated across the globe. Reparations is something to be considered across the globe. The Catholic Church owe all of us a lot of money.
That's the whole show. That's for later.
Definitely, we ain't got time to start jumping down that rabbit hole. No.
So it looks like we have time enough to answer one question from the comments.
Hold
and
on,
this is something that
have time to just shout out our people real quick, like Jonathan Cooper and Miko
yes.
and Rashawn and Kevin, like just everybody that's tuned in. Rashawn, I feel like Woo was in here at some point. Tammy T was in here. I just want to thank all of our supporters.
Portia Preston.
Yeah,
yes, thank all of y'all.
Blood in, blood out.
Yep, with Black Think Tank Gang. Okay, so we're gonna get jumped in. So when you go to the question was, I'm hearing most Africans object to Pan-Africanism and do not have a good view of Black people in America. Any insight on that? We'll let the doctor take this, because I've often wondered this too. You hear that they are like this, but now you see them inviting us because America is, so crazy. They're like, nah, y'all come on back home. Y'all, what's the movement like now?
Yeah. So one really fascinating thing that's been happening, you see it in the case of Ghana with the Year of Return, are these sort of large-scale government-supported movements to actually welcome back Black people throughout the diaspora, welcome them back to Africa, and also welcome them back to specific countries. So this is definitely a movement that's on the rise. But I will mention one thing that happened to me while I was doing my field research for my dissertation. I got to Haiti, and I was really rooted in a concept of myself as a Black American, but really a Black person. And it wasn't until I got there that I realized, wait, this could be a lot bigger than I think it is already, because I was coming there as a person that was used to having Black History Month. You know, I'm from Chicago. My parents are from Chicago. My grandparents are from Mississippi. Like I'm rooted in like this very Black American idea of Blackness. I got there and Blackness is in the Constitution. Right. So one of the lines in the Constitution said, of course, after an uprising and a large-scale 10-year revolt that totally turned the world on its head, they wrote into the Constitution, tout monde noir c'est noir, like all men who are Black are Black. And basically the concept is that Blackness was right then and there identified with humanity. So that is really the one thing that kind of got me thinking. It got me thinking about, okay, who can we count as Black, but also is my idea of Blackness big enough?
Wow.
So
Black is Black.
I mean, cultural appropriation does that, right? I think Black Americans want to hold on to this idea that we're the gateholders for who's Black enough and who's not. I mean, Cardi B recently had to go on Twitter again, like third or fourth time, to say, my mom is this, my dad is this is what they look like. The same with Bruno Mars. I mean, they're like, you can't sing that, you're from Puerto Rico. But I was like, he was on Arsenio Hall when he was 9 years old, and he's been singing that music forever. So I kind of feel like, especially if you're gonna wear a weave, and weaves were originally,
what, Tracy?
They came from white people. We're looking at cultural appropriation. We all have to look at what we've taken from other cultures. If you're wearing wigs and weaves, you have to understand, even though there were wigs in Africa, there wasn't this type A hair, whatever hair you're putting in your head. So if you're going to talk about who deserves to be, start with not talking about each other with African descent. Keep that.
Oh my God.
On what it actually is. It's when the Kardashians come with cornrows in their heads, when they change their body shapes. It's not necessarily.
Hold up, Tracy. You're not gonna sit here. Oh my God, I just never thought I would hear nothing like this come out of your mouth. We're not gonna sit here and pretend like the idea of straight hair and Madam C.J. Walker and all of that did not come from the fact that our own natural self was not accepted. You couldn't get a job if you didn't look
exactly. And I'm not
it's not appropriation, it's assimilation. We can't sit here.
That is assimilation. You're exactly
right. Difference, but that's a difference though.
At this point in our history, as people are becoming more woke, Black Lives Matter, it's now becoming a choice. And I don't care if you decide to assimilate and you want to wear your hair, it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to point your finger of appropriation to someone, I understand what's going on in our community. I understand that you have to look a certain way. I understand that the Supreme Court doesn't even really want to talk about the way our hair grows naturally out of our head in locks, in braids. If I decide not to comb it, the fact that Black men aren't accepted if they have these full beards. They've just been recently given the ability to even wear this. Black women in the military just recently were told they don't have to wear buns in their head anymore. Assimilation, you're absolutely correct on that. But after a while, it becomes choice. And if it's your choice to put whatever you want to put in your hair, that's fine. If it's your choice to continue to assimilate because this is how you think you're going to get through life, hey, fine. I'm not one to knock it. All I'm saying is that when you're talking about appropriation,
have naturally fine quote unquote fine hair.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about what I'm talking about is the people who come out of their mouth with Bruno Mars isn't black enough, he can't sing this, and you're sitting here trying to baby your edges down because that's part of what's going on in culture right now. Yeah. Now we have, and I'm not discounting, there's plenty of blacks who have hair that's straight, hair that's tight. That wasn't my point. My point is when you're taking an entire culture and you're trying to say you can't be part of our culture because we're Black Africans and this is this is ours. Yeah. It's not fair and it's not realistic because of the expansiveness of Black in the community. There's, like I'm saying, there's nothing wrong because we do have like straight hair. We have kinky hair. If you want to wear a wig one day to have bouncy hair, if you want to take your braids, it's whatever you want to do. All I'm saying is watch what you're saying to other people in other cultures when you're deciding in your Black book who's Black enough and who's not.
I think we probably have it for the next Black think tank right here.
Like we got our attack here. Went off the rails from Diaspora.
That was the Diaspora on y'all.
That's exactly what it is.
To Tracy's point, if I could just say, but to Tracy's point, I think that goes both ways, right? So like my family would tell me, you're not Black. So if then a Black person would be like, but your own family doesn't see you that way. You know what I mean? So it's another way that it's like,
right.
They're not telling you, they're telling you you're not Black, and then your family's telling you you're not Black. But then, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah, but this all goes back to, that's what the diaspora is. This all goes back to Black was wrong. Black was evil. Being Black was not human. It was subhuman. That being said, you can't, like Martin Luther King said, you can't thingify something and keep it in its human context. So that being said, and I if I'm not mistaken, what you're saying is Blackness encompasses it all, especially if all comes from it. So if it encompasses it all, then who are we to say, hey, this culture cannot do this, or this culture cannot do that, or this person cannot do this, or cannot say that? Because it all is Blackness, it all is humanity, and it all is culture. What we've done here in this culture, in my opinion, is create a culture from an amalgamation of many different things. And that's just here in the US. And then as it goes out and throughout, it becomes so much more, and we pick up so much more. And everybody is left behind if they're really not on board and on the train, realizing that people get ready, the change has come. Yeah. Africa has been calling us home. You know, Africa has said we did not understand that this was happening. Ghana has apologized for the part that they have portrayed. And then now the only people who have not, although Britain has put on paper now, okay, we're going to name the companies that benefited in this, because that's what we have to look at, who benefited in these people's disassimilation. You know, what we didn't know is that the majority of us came from this place. What we didn't know is that, hey, we haven't even gotten to the part where we talk about Kenya that didn't understand, that they didn't know what we were missing. So when we look at Africa going, hey, this is what's happening, when we look at different cultures and this is what's happening, we're not even taking into account Khan's transition across Europe and all of that different stuff. And the Moors, so there's so much that we don't know. And the problem is we don't know what we don't know. And
exactly.
What we don't know, we're not allowing one another to grow in our missteps, in our mistakes, and our graces of becoming much more human.
It is about
becoming more human.
It's about knowledge and acknowledgement. Because even I'll use this for an example. My in the gay community, we have, you have kids, because kids are ostracized from their real families. So other people act as parents to these the younger generation. So one of my kids, who watches the show, asked me, well, how do you, she listens to some of the things that I say on the show, and she was like, well, how do you view me? How do you view me as my ethnicity? And I had to think about it. I mean, I just lumped her in this Black category because of our community and the people that, she would spend her time around and her personality. I just lumped her into this Black category when in actuality, she's not. And she was just like, you know, it's about knowledge. But then come to find out, she went and did, after we had this conversation, she went and did her ancestry test. And it comes back, she does have a little bit of color in her. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
we're the original. Like,
it's really about knowledge and seeking the knowledge, you know, so that we can be more proficient in who, you know, and we are, and knowing who we are. Doctor, were you going to say something?
I was just right on. I was just going to say that seeking point is really important, right? So Haywood, I think you mentioned knowledge and Akan principles. One of the most important ones, Sankofa. And some of us are familiar with that graphic of the bird that's looking back at itself, right? And so that just simply means it's not a failure to go back and relearn. And it's not a failure to go back, revisit, revise, because that's how we build knowledge.
Yes.
Doctor, you are writing a book. So, and you have an entire website. Please let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So I can be found at laureneldridgestewart.com, on social media handles, Music Theories, at Music Theories.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you so much. We appreciate. We need to have a Black Diaspora Part 2.
Like, I just feel so blessed to have been in your company tonight, Dr. Stewart. I just felt so blessed just by your presence alone. Thank you.
Next time, a little less capacious. You know, you gotta.
I want to just also put the plug in that Fernando and I had consistent Wi-Fi throughout.
Oh,
Afro Latinos for the win. Afro Latinos for the win. You take it over 3 black minutes.
Listen, 2021, we are not doing it with y'all and y'all damn Metro PCS.
3 minutos negros.
Crickets, we're not doing it.
Teresa, tell everybody where they can find you, Teresa.
So I am on Instagram and Twitter as at Theresa Boricua. Listen to me, I got my freaking telenovela accent still. At Theresa Boricua. And that's it. I just post my little tidbits. I haven't really been doing that much, so I'm really excited about jumping back into the online comedy stuff, but also hopefully we'll be able to do some live stuff soon too. And I'm waiting for the bus for you guys to do that bus down to the Arlington Cinema Draft House for your live show. Baltimore wants to show up, and I have no license, so. Me and Anthony are here.
You by yourself now.
But we need some transportation.
Look, I just got my learner's permit today. So
this shit is rough. It's rough out here anyway.
Yo, Fernando, tell everybody where they can find you.
I thought I got my driver's license late. Jeez Louise, guys.
Shut up. It expired.
You can find me on Instagram, Funny Madrigal. I do a bi-monthly comedy showcase on Zoom. It's called Hannah's Zoom Basement. The next one's February 12th. We got a great lineup of comedians. So follow me on Funny Madrigal. I'll be posting the flyer later this week. If you want to come, it's a free show. You know, we take donations. It's about an hour and a half. You get some good comedy. We're still trying to do this thing out here in the pandemic. So Funny Madrigal on Instagram.
Hannah's Basement is an amazing show. I love it. I think we've all been on it. Yeah. It's a great show.
I haven't been on the online version.
Yeah, you have. You did.
Online version.
I will pull the receipts, Theresa. I will. Don't be having pictures up here. Y'all got some time. Whoever, Kevin, is it Kevin that does this?
Turnipseed.
Speaking of me.
Where I'm gonna be. Hey, Black Think Tank. Friday, February 19th, we have an online show with Lab House DMV, that Black Think Tank. And then February 28th, we'll be at is it 28th? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It will be at the Arlington Cinema Draft House. So that's 2 times you can see Black Think Tank doing comedy. Well, we won't be just telling history and telling and talking diaspora. We'll be telling some funny about diaspora and making sure we're Black enough. And on the side, on lines of what we're talking about today, the stuff that we talk about, we're never really here to try to fix the problem. We're here to just address it and help others realize that these are the stresses that we are dealing with. So with anything that we're talking about, we're always just scratching the surface. And if you have any ideas for Black Think Tank, make sure you shout us out and let us know if there's something that you want to talk about.
Please let us know. Let us know the all of the ideas that you have for our show, because we listen and we want to bring them to you. Patrice DeVoe. Patrice, it ain't black enough. It ain't black enough.
Listen, I could sit here and pretend like I don't got a lot of things to plug, but strap in because no, seriously, tomorrow I'm doing conversations with comedians in Maryland with T. Gray. So check my page out at But Is She Funny to find out how you can tap in and call in to that. February the 12th, I'm back at my second home. I'm a Philogenian for all who don't know. So I'll be in Philly at Ridiculously Funny on February the 12th. That's a Friday. That Saturday, I'm back in Maryland for Love Bites, comedy show with Alex Scott and a bunch of other funny people. February 14th, I am doing Cupid Chuckles right here in Richmond, Virginia, with my guy Anthony Oakes. We are co-hosting a phenomenal show. There are still tickets available for the PM show. Oh, okay, come through promo just a little early, but hold on. For the 7 p.m. show, and the headliner is Brandon Hot Sauce Glover, and you may have seen him on the Black Think Tank with his Cricket Wireless, and it wasn't going well. But when I tell you, you don't want to stand in person, laugh. True TV, Comedy Central, Laugh Mob. He is a monster on stage. You really don't want to miss it. And as far as like my final thoughts, it was something that was sent in our group chat today that said the story of Black people has a lot of layers, but wherever it's told, it has liberating power. And that is my final thought. And I truly believe that all power to the people. That's my thing.
Amen. Amen. Praise Black Beyonce.
Anthony Oakes, how about you?
Well, Tracy, did you get to say anything?
Oh, sure, yes. So if you're interested, I'm still doing my CBD orders. MJHerbalInfusions.com. I'm also on Instagram, MJ_herbal_infusions. Of course, Orange Wellness as well. OrangeWellness.com, and also on, what is that? Instagram, Twitter, OrangeWellness.com. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter for MJ Herbal Infusions, I'm at Miss Seed at Carolyn's Daughter.
Hey, Maya.
Yeah, listen. Hey, baby, Turnipseed.
Say hi.
And I think y'all covered everything. I think that okay, so tomorrow on Busboys and Poets IG, I do an open mic. My feature is the legendary Samson McCormick. That's gonna be amazing. Busboys and Poets IG at live at 8:00. If you're a performer, hop on, drop a mic. You can perform. We're with I'm with Patrice in Richmond on the 14th. You can check out my link tree or anthonyoakes.com. And then the 19th, we're at the Laugh House DMV online. And then the 20th, and then we're in Atlanta. Patrice, me, Patrice, and Kevin are going down to Atlanta. I'm being inducted.
Babylon and Oak in Atlanta. Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me.
Yes. And I'm being inducted into the Ballroom Hall of Fame. So if you watch Pose and Legendary and all of that stuff, so I'm being inducted into the Ballroom Hall of Fame on that Saturday. And then we're coming back to Arlington on that Sunday for Black History Month 2021 with Black Think Tank.
It ain't.
I know. It's gonna be so amazing. We're trying to work some things out. And we love you all. I love Black people. I love everybody, but I especially love Black people and this diaspora that we're in. I just love it. I love it. I love it. Thanks again to the doctor. We appreciate you. Let me get that solo layout one more time. Oh, there you go. There you go.
We have the Wakandan book collection in the background.
It's a Wakandan book selection. That's hilarious.
That's the library of Wakanda.
Wakandan book selection.
And thank you so much, Theresa and Fernando. We appreciate y'all. Squad, always appreciate you. And Patrice, you know I appreciate you. I love you to death. Shout out to the flunky. Shout out to MJ _______.
Let me at least try to do the drop that I sent you that didn't go through. Can we at least try it? Can we just try it? All right, here we go. As always, the Black Think Tank would like to thank our sponsors, MJ Herbal Infusions, your full spectrum shop, whether you're treating insomnia, anxiety, depression, or pain relief. MJ Herbal Infusions has everything that you need for your edible, medicinal, and recreational needs. And the Flunky, when you have more responsibility than time, the Flunky Concierge Service is here for you. There is no task too small or too big. The Flunky Concierge Service.
Stay Black and stay great.
Create a space where we could, discuss Black content creators and providers and consumers of Black content. Go into film, ejaculate right on film, produce our own film.